right. True football fans, yeah, must say for more support, and then yeah, cause na yes, must subscribe to the channel now. My engaging. I mean, share your videos, nibi, MI, na make you sure so say over commenting on your discussions, and Nyami Aduma Saturday there's a tough fixture London. Spurs host to Chelsea in a mouth-watering Premier League encounter. I mean, Spurs Chelsea one of the most entertaining Premier League fixtures of all time. Almost every time you miss here, there are more there. But Chelsea are mobile from a home defeat to Sunderland, and mobile facing this Tottenham Hotspur side. Thomas Frank and the boys, you know, you need the more and almost sleep such now. And as on Saturday, Kofi is here. Kofi. Spurs at home to Chelsea.
Yes, another fixture, maybe in terms of derby, Ebema they needed attention, but over the last few years, I think it doesn't matter. Two teams will be at form, but it has always been a game. Chelsea do not cry at the end of any of those encounters. Spurs. Any Chelsea, the same venue last season. I remember Chelsea crushed Spurs by 4-3. It was close, but in the end, Chelsea they needed victory. Then the reverse fixture, it was Stamford Bridge again. Chelsea won. So all the Premier League encounters between Spurs and Chelsea for the past 2 seasons all of them are in favor of Chelsea, and you know. Am I psychologically moving into the game as a Chelsea fan? You can be very confident. Said the SC previously, you know, and they can't send there. Then you are hopeful that in the game tomorrow, Chelsea may have something. But this particular season, semi discuss Spurs side here. I always dwell so much on near Thomas Frank and what he's done so far. One thing that is clear is what transforming the Spurs side. At least if you want to compare Nesaidi to last season when Postecoglou was in charge. I mean, last season was terrible, but for the Europa League, I mean, nothing went on well for Spurs. It's the reason why even after Postecoglou winning the Europa League against Manchester United, they still went ahead to part ways with the manager Thomas Frank. It take over, and I mean he's added 1 or 2 players, and so far generally, if you want to discuss one of the tough teams in the Premier League this season, clearly you will cite the Spurs side. And yes, Chelsea in the last 2 seasons are dominating or more encounters with Spurs in the Premier League, but this time this against Thomas Frank. We all know an established manager in terms of coaching and in terms of the managerial role game, especially in the top leagues in Europe, right? But one thing I want to mention the fact that he's one of those managers with limited resources. I mean, some good performances, and that is what you can expect from Thomas Frank's side, this time round. Again, we can say, yes, Chelsea had a very good Club World Cup, but how are Chelsea finished last season in a top 4th place and a Champions League slot? Yes, sure, story is the same so far, about 9-10 games in the Premier League so far. So Chelsea inconsistency, even in the last game on boy against a struggling Wolves side, the League Cup, Chelsea won. But we saw how it went in the end after taking a commanding league. At some point, Wolves eba game so strongly now combit me crumple and the equalizer. So Chelsea is not really consistent with top level performances, and on moving into the game, a very tough one for Chelsea. I think say Chelsea now 1 point in the game, Krana. I mean, they can manage it like that. And yet one of those games are kind of moving into the game based on the dynamics so far, any 2 teams in form, and even the managers involved. I mean, yes, sure, but for the Club World Cup, Thomas Frank, Paridi, Nesaidi against Enzo Maresca's Chelsea. Maybe because it is Chelsea, but Senka Thomas Frank ne Maresca Asia na Club World Cup asema. I mean, just say between the two coaches, no. Yabeka say be a difference be where huge that much, and so I think maybe the difference will be the platform. Say, maybe a Maresca could a platform that is known to be winning and winning in recent times. And it's a tough one. It won't be like last season. And Chelsea, what I see, ni say in the course of the game, no, Chelsea would struggle, right? Say 1 point, say 3 points, or whatever be the case. Say Chelsea, any of them they will still struggle and San Monsaka. It won't be an easy game.
Chelsea, what has been the issue in the last couple of games, Amabo? I mean, Copa Mania available there, but Chelsea is shaky. Chelsea are unpredictable. I mean, you see them take a commanding lead. Now, game national be to the extent that Chelsea did not feel in the last game. Premier League in Sunderland, Eberseno. DNA Chelsea problem.
So, to me, I cite a lot of factors as we speak. I think say one, coaching can. Two, of course, you many injuries in frame because every manager here need players, especially your best players, to be fit for games out bebo. So injuries, one of those factors. I think that players' attitude sometimes, and so really a big issue. And I mean inconsistency on the part of the team with top level performance on this player in the Club World Cup final against PSG. So what you say? So if you talk about the manager, I think that in most cases Onyani selection right. Two, the approach to games, especially Chelsea's build-up, are one thing that teams and they use it against Chelsea most of the times because the build-up in most cases is slow. But in the game, sometimes you need 1-2 passes or opponent and have. It's a league, any able. You win games, you accumulate points, and they be determined, maybe I will be there at the end of the season. So at any point in time, Biano, if you have the chance to quickly transit and enter opponent in half, when you something good out of the game, you must do it. But what we've seen so far with the Chelsea side, when they get the ball, opponent no crowd players no more Chelsea half crowd, they are still slow with the ball. In most cases, before Chelsea ever try some attack, now opponent now recover, and it happened in the last game against Sunderland. So I think that's one thing I also coach need correct. And of course, when it comes to injuries, some of them a bit me prevent it happen training grounds. In the case of Cole Palmer, it was ahead of a Premier League game against West Ham United when team warming up and injury. It's part of the game you can't necessarily control, but players' attitude I expect coach need to work on it because this is a huge club, comes with a lot of expectations, right? Is so high, demand was so any game biano a must win game for Chelsea because Chelsea is known to be winning, especially from Abramovich era na urban. So I think say no one thing was a coach working on them and some of the guys too. The situation when had the chance to play like Jamie Gittins, like Tarek George, and all those young guys, including Andres Santos Munina, even Esteval. Yes, Esteval has been good on a lot of times for Chelsea, any idea, but he can still do better. I do baby who say as a Krasem Kakra Bem inexperience, you can understand because he's still 18 years, any idea. So those guys like Tarek George, Santos, and Jamie Gittins, to some extent you can say Garnacho, when they get the opportunity, I think they have to do a lot. In the last game against Sunderland in the first half, for Garnacho I think it was good, but for the rest, given the opportunity, they don't really take full advantage of those opportunities. And for a club like Chelsea, say over with that attitude now, a bit more struggle. So for me, I think say all these are some of the factors are so far as a Chelsea are disappointing, right? But what I see is that the manager can still work on it because the last time Anna Slot was discussing the opponent any or squad any free bench and he was even talking about Chelsea. Say at some point say Copa Manua you have Esteval, I will be free bench Abba. Esteval is young, but we all know that he's good enough to play any idea. So Chelsea aside everything, they still have the men. Maybe the centre back issue but all of them put together, I think that the coach can still manage the squad as it stands now and get something better than the so far what the Chelsea.
Yes, even in the struggles, we've seen that Chelsea still score goals. Chelsea still goals, but the issue has got to do with the goal concession. So Chelsea concede goals, and then I have problem here. And me feel this Spurs attack against the Chelsea defense I mean, on paper, as a better than the match Chelsea perch now. But one particular battle I'm hearing him Kudus or the right flanks versus Kukureya or Chelsea left side of defense. And meaning what sort of battle I'm hearing him on Saturday?
I think a difficult battle, maybe in this case for Kudus, because when it comes to Kukudia, I mean at all levels for club and country, he's met some wonderful attackers will live up to expectations, right? And in the case of Kuku, I think you can expect he has everything to handle Kudus or that side of the game. But as to say Kudus able to me and handle Kuku in a manner in which cut to the advantage of Kudus himself and Spurs, is something that I cannot confidently say, because there's a problem with Kudus. Only consistent, and that's the problem with Kudus, especially about Premier League. Even at West Ham United, the first season, how he played when Timian replicated the same performance in his second season. I've always said, the chance to play for Spurs is like a rescue mission for Kudus in the Premier League. It's an advantage, so it's a platform. I also ultimately pushing the career to the next level, and in games against clubs like Chelsea, and ultimately flourish here. You remember those days when Jan was playing for Sunderland against Chelsea? I'm making a name with a top level performance. And I think that Kudus never said prove a point in that game against Kuku. But for Kuku, I mean, he's proving he can handle players in that part of the field. And I think a difficult battle it will be a difficult one for Kudus Mo.
Okay, I'm going to crack with what expectation in terms of scoreline. I mean, no prediction, so now they chat well.
Me who says Spurs will score because Chelsea will issues unless maybe in the midfield Chelsea is able to defend very well, but I see Spurs scoring. I see Chelsea also scoring, right? But me who a lot of goals, like 4-5 goals, maybe a 2-1 win for any of the sides are likely to happen. Yeah.
Kudus to score?
Very difficult, but it's possible.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Chelsea and I'm away. I mean, I'm landing neighbors. Where I'm far bars 20 minutes drive be from Stamford Bridge now. I'm do North London. So it's now. And as a Saturday, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Chelsea away at Tottenham Hotspur. Also who is saying, me who predictions or comment section. Name my rain fee, so subscribe to the channel. That's it.